Hi guys, welcome back to a new awesome video, you guys. And if you came here for my short, please like this video. So the people who came here for my short should know what I'm doing right now. So I'll be reading the story I told you about in my short. For those who don't know, you can either check out my short or I'll just tell you now. The story is about something I wrote. I'm sorry if it's a bit falsely formulated or weird, because I'm not particularly good in writing stories, but I tried, okay? I tried. The title of this story is Turning Real. So I'm skipping the intro because some people of you might came here from my short, so I don't want to bother you with that, so we'll just skip to the next page. 10 years later. Blair, wake up, Charlotte said, and pokes her friend. Blair wakes up and realizes that she fell asleep in class. Miss Hilston, please repeat the question, the teacher says, and Blair quickly replies, Sorry, miss, I wasn't listening. And the teacher sighs, Don't fall asleep in my class again, Miss Hilston, or there will be consequences. Blair nods silently, and the others start whispering, What a freak. I thought she was at least smart. Not even that, I guess. And they laughed. Keep it down, girls, please, the teacher says, and continues teaching. Blair concentrates, and then the bell rang. Finally, I can go home, Charlotte says, and urges Blair to finish up. I need to finish real quick, Blair says, and Charlotte sits back down. Your grades are highest in class anyways. Why do you have to study like all the time? Charlotte asks and stands up. Fine, I'm coming, Blair says, and packed her things. At the door, the teacher asked if Blair's getting enough sleep at home, and Blair nodded. Blair, could I stay over at your house today? Charlotte asks, and Blair sighs. Why? Charlotte shrugs. No reason. Fine, I had a fight with Garrett. And Blair sighs. What did your brother do this time? He just pisses me off. Okay? Charlotte answers, and Blair nods. I'll inform Grandma. And Charlotte thanks her by saying she's a lifesaver. Before Blair could call her grandmother, someone wearing a black hoodie snatches her bag and runs away. Hey, stop right there, Blair shouts, and runs after him. She tripped and thought that the masked guy ran away. Oi, stop right there, boy. A very tall and intimidating guy dressed in all black stands in his way. It's a bit rude, don't you think? The man asks and pointed a gun at him. Give it back immediately, he said, in a demanding tone. The masked boy dropped the bag and tried to make a run for it. Not so fast, the guy in black said, and still pointed the gun at him. Before he could shoot, she kicked it out of his hand. How dare you? I just helped you and you repay me like this? She shook his head and said, He did steal my bag, but doesn't deserve to be shot, Blair answers and handed the gun back. Interesting. Are you not afraid? He asks and looked at her. No, not really, Blair says, and urged the guy to make a run for it. I'll let you off the hook for now, if you tell me your name. Blair Hilston, she said, and he smirks. I'm Antonio Salvatore. Then he he just went off without saying a word. Blair picked up her bag, still processing what the frick just happened. Oh my god, did you see him? Charlotte asks, so excited that she screams. Yes, I did. Blair answers and started walking. His blonde hair, his braid with those turquoise eyes, Charlotte says while catching up to Blair. Yes, she answers, and Charlotte continues to follow her. Why are you so interested? Why are you so uninterested? I mean, why are you so Why are you so uninterested? Charlotte asks, and Blair answered, I'm just tired and I need a shower, Blair says, and Charlotte sighs. Fine, we'll talk later, and walks with her. About 10 minutes later, they arrive. Welcome home, dear, Blair's grandmom Dolores says, and sees Charlotte. Oh, as I see, you brought your friend. You should have informed me, Blair. Blair excuses herself to the shower and first washes out the hair dye and taking out the blue lens to reveal that her left strand of hair is white and her left eye also. After Blair was done washing, she put on her sleeping robe. I'm done, Charlotte. You can go next, Blair says, and sits on the bed. No need. I used the other bathroom, Charlotte replied and sat next to her. Why don't you let your hair and eye just stay like that? It looks so cool. And Blair looks at Charlotte. Because I'll get bullied, duh. Charlotte nods and says, Right, sorry. And took out her phone. Charlotte gasps. What's wrong? Blair asks, and Charlotte replies, I searched up Antonio Salvatore, and he's, this is, what I found. Blair couldn't believe it and quickly took the phone. He's a mafia leader? Blair exclaims and gasps. What? This is so cool, Charlotte says and takes her phone back. Anyway, I'll go tell Grandma goodnight and then I'll go to sleep and you should too, Blair says and stands up. Okay, sorry, Blair answers and lays on the bed. Before Blair could open the door to her grandma's room, she overhears a phone call. Oh, I know, I don't have much time left, Dolores said. Blair covers her mouth and thinks to herself, what? She doesn't have much time left? Is she gonna die? Then Dolores continues speaking. My last wish? It's probably seeing Blair married happily and in love. Blair couldn't believe it, and a single tear flows down her face. Dolores hangs up and Blair wipes her teary face and opens the door. Good night, Grandma, she says and closes it again. When she got to her room, she prepared a mattress and laid on it. Blair, you're so quiet. Did something happen? Charlotte asks, and Blair nodded. Tell me, you look so sad. And Blair told her what she just heard. Really? She's gonna die and wait, what, marriage? Charlotte asks, and Blair nodded. I don't know how much time she has left, Blair says. And her head sank. I have an idea, Charlotte says, and Blair looked at her, very curious. I could set you up on blind date, Charlotte says, and Blair thought for a moment, and then reluctantly agreed, because it's her grandma's final wish. The next day, Charlotte accompanies Blair to school. Okay, I have it all set up. 18:30 at the cafe, Charlotte says, and gives and gives Blair a thumbs up. "Thank you for helping me," Blair says, and Charlotte hugs her tightly. "That's what friends are for!" And then they sat on their desks. Class begins," the teacher says, and it got quiet. After class, Blair looked at the clock. It was 18 o'clock already, 18 p.m. And she had to take the bus. "Good luck," Claire screamed, and Blair gestured a thank you. When she arrived, she sat down at the table, and not long after, a man came in and sat across her. "Hello, I'm Tom. You must be Blair. Blair Hilston. Please, I'm very pleased to meet you," he said, and Blair smiles. "Nice to meet you too." And then he immediately starts talking and wouldn't stop. When Blair got home, she was so tired she jumped on the bed and fell straight to sleep. Blair was woken up by her grandmother the next morning. "Blair, wake up, breakfast is waiting," Dolores says, and Blair wakes up. "Thank you, Grandma," she says. "After you're done, I have a little something for you," Dolores says, and Blair was eager to find out. "I finished it. It was very delicious," Blair said, and Dolores smirked. "What is it you wanted to show me?" Blair asks, and Dolores handed her a box. "This is for you. Wear it at all times, okay?" Blair thanked Dolores excitedly and opened the box. "Grandma, this is your favorite jewelry," Blair says, and Dolores smiles. "It's my most precious necklace." "You're right, but I want you to have it," she says, and Blair hugs her. "Thank you, thank you, thank you," she says, and Blair hugs her. And Dolores hugs her, urges her to go to school, or she'll be late. Blair quickly got ready and dashed out of the house. She is really happy to have such a pretty necklace. When she arrives, Charlotte is already waiting. "What took you so long?" she asks and notices the necklace. "Cute necklace," she says, and Blair smiles. "Grandma gave it to me." "Cool, but we're gonna be late for class," Blair answers, and they began to run. "Wait up," Blair says, and quickly follows her. "Phew, we made it just in time," Blair says, while still catching her breath. "I think I ran faster than a train," Charlotte says, and Blair laughs. "Not that fast, I think," she answers, and teasingly laughed. "Girls, class starts soon. Sit down, please," the teacher says, and they do as she says. "How did the blind date go?" Blair asks, and Blair just shook her head. "I see. Then same time, same place," Charlotte responds, and Blair nodded. After class, Blair goes to the same cafe and meets a man. "Hi, I'm Ronald," he says, says quietly, and then complete silence. Back at home, she calls Charlotte on her phone. She called Charlotte on her phone. "And how was it?" Charlotte asked, and Blair told her how awkward it was. "Okay, tomorrow, same place, same time," Charlotte answers, and Blair thanked her. The next few times, it did not go well, or better. Blair decides to give up, but Charlotte begged her to go one more time. "Fine, okay," she says, and Charlotte got excited. Okay, same place, but at 20 p.m., okay? Blair nodded, and after class it was 18 p.m. Charlotte is already at home. What should I do? Blair asks herself and decides to go to the cafe and wait there. Well, who do we have? Wait. Well, who do we have here? A voice behind her says, and Blair turns around. "Oh, hey, it's you!" long time no see, Blair says, and Antonia smiles. You're really brave for a girl, Antonia says teasingly. I'm not a girl anymore. I'm 23, thank you, she says and smiles. Are you here for a date? He asks and sits down next to her. Not exactly, Blair answers and thinks to herself. He's too close. Why are you here? Blair asks and Antonia replies, just for a coffee, it's my favorite place. Blair agrees, then looks at her phone. 19:15 already? Antonia, I'm meeting with someone. Talk to you later. And before she could stand up, Antonia asks, with whom? I'd prefer not to tell, Blair says, and leaves the table. Not soon after, a guy came in. He was drop-dead gorgeous. Hello, I'm Albert. You must be Blair, the man says and kisses the back of her hand. Yes, hello, I'm Blair, she says, thinking to herself, how did Charlotte arrange this? Antonia, sensing something wrong, decides to stay a little. Blair follows Albert to the table, and when they sat down, Albert puts his hands together. Why did you want to meet here? And Blair answers, it's just my favorite spot. Albert looked around the place judgingly. Anyways, let's get straight to business, Albert says, and Blair looked at him, confused. What do you mean? She asks, and Albert grins maniacally. Show me how you spend the night and I'll think about it. I know you want to. I know I'm drop-dead gorgeous, he says arrogantly, and Blair thought for a moment and says, on second thought, no thank you, Blair says, and tries to stand up, but his grip got tighter. Oh no, you stay here, Albert says, and Blair is panicking. Oh no, what am I gonna do? Someone please help. She thinks to herself before Albert could drag her to outside, someone grabbed his hand and said, that wasn't so nice, was it? Antonio, Blair thinks, and she felt safe. Let go of her, now, Blair says, and Albert scoffs. But Antonio coldly looked him in the eye. Fine, you can have her, sheesh, and then he left. Thank you, Blair says, and gave the faint smile. So, you are on a blind date? Why? Antonio asks, and grinned. I need a fake marriage contract because my grandmother says so. Antonio was a bit taken aback. Well, that's new, he says, and then grabbed her hand. Wait, where are we going? Blair asks, and Antonio kept quiet. Tell me. I saw some enemies, Antonio says, and Blair covered her mouth. Antonio kept running until they reached a car. Go inside, quickly, Antonio says, and Blair does so. Where are we going? Away from here, he answers, and then starts driving. Thank you for saving me back there, Blair says, and Antonio smiles. About that, you need a marriage contract, right? He asks, and Blair nods. Yes, why do you ask? She replied, and Antonio answers, because my family says I should get a wife soon, so I thought it would benefit the both of us. He says, and Blair thinks to herself, is he really proposing while being chased by other criminals? WTF? After a silent moment, she answers, Okay, but I'll have to set some rule first, okay? Antonia chuckles and agrees. It's set then. We're officially engaged. But we will have to put on a very good act. Blair agrees with him, and then she decides to look behind them. I think you lost him, she says, and Antonio checks, only to confirm what Blair just said. He turns around and asked, "What do you have in mind for the rules?" Blair thinks for a moment. Well, how about not telling others of our sudden marriage? Antonio agrees and took out a cigarette and started smoking. Is it okay for you? Antonio asked, and Blair confirmed. We will have to meet my mother and father in 2 days, okay? Antonio asked and took another puff. 2 days? Isn't that a bit sudden? Blair asks, and Antonio just grinned. Well, we were together for almost 2 years now, aren't we? He said, and Blair could just nod. Fine, but how should I act? Blair asks, and Antonio thinks. How about we start with kissing? Antonio says, and Blair's face turned red. Do we really have to? She asks, and Antonio said, of course. My parents aren't that easily fooled. My mother is our biggest problem. I see, Blair says, and Antonio throws away his cigarette. Now Antonio leans towards Blair and couldn't take his eyes off her lips. Blair looks at Antonio, and without a single warning, he kisses Blair. Why? Why didn't you warn me? Antonio starts laughing and thinks how cute she is. Fine, Blair says. Fine, Blair says, mischievously, and grabbed Antonio by his collar and kissed him back. Completely shocked, his face turns red. I'm not as innocent as you think, Blair says, and leaves the car before giving him a mischievous look. She has some nerve, Antonio says and chuckles. I have kissed so many women before, but why did my heart flutter? I thought I was gonna explode any minute now, Antonio thinks to himself and chuckles. Then he stroked his lip and remembered the kiss that made him smile. While Blair was walking home, she recalled what happened and blushed. Even though I acted cool, I felt like my heart could explode any minute. Her face got redder and redder, thinking about this incident, when her phone rang. Hello? Blair asks, and Antonio on the other end replied, Hello, Blair. I have bad news, he says, and Blair thought the worst. Were you kidnapped? She says, panicking, and Antonio chuckled a bit. Thanks for your concern, but it's not that or anything close to that. Oh, okay, she said, and Antonio informed her that my mother said until our wedding you should come live with us, if it's okay with you. Blair thought for a moment. Okay, I've been waiting to ask you something, she said, and Antonio smirked at the thought of her living with him, but quickly snapped out of it and replied, Why, yes, of course, just ask. Could I tell a friend about this situation? Just one friend. And Antonio thought for a moment and sighed. If you really need to, she said, and Blair thanked him. Bye, see you tomorrow at the cafe for some more details, she said, and hung up. Antonio looked at his phone to see a profile picture from Blair, and he smiled again. And then he started driving. Meanwhile, Blair was calling Charlotte, and she picked up. Wait, what? Blair, it's 23 p.m. Can we talk tomorrow? Charlotte says and hangs up. The next morning, Blair was extra excited to go to school. Goodbye, Grandma, she says, and sprinted out. Wait, why am I so excited? She thought to herself. It's not a good thing, but it's not practically a bad one too, right? Then she continues to walk to school. Blair, Charlotte says, and walked towards her. Charlotte, something happened last night, Blair says, and quietly Charlotte smirks and teasingly says, Did you get a husband? 1 million points, ding ding ding, Blair says, and Charlotte's eyes widened. That Albert guy, she asks, and Blair shook her head. Even better. Antonio, she says, and Charlotte did a happy dance. Oh my god, I'm so happy for you, she says, and then Blair looks at her phone. Uh-oh, we have 5 minutes, she says, then both run as fast as they can. When they reach the classroom, the teacher scolds them. Miss Hilston, you and your friend are late. Yeah, no shit, Blair thinks, and then quickly apologizes. We overslept, Charlotte explained, and as a quick cover-up story. Go to your seats immediately, she shouted, and the two friends sat down abruptly. She could have been a bit nicer, Charlotte whispers, and Blair agreed. Tell me all about it in detail after class, Charlotte says, and got to learning. Of course, I'll tell you every detail, Blair says, and two started learning. After class, Blair told Charlotte all again, but more detailed. What? No kiss? Charlotte asks, and was a bit disappointed. What? No kiss. Blair lies nervously, and Charlotte looked at Blair, suspecting something, but then dismisses it. Let's walk home together, Blair says, and Charlotte follows. With a my pleasure. They both laugh, and suddenly a very luxurious car stopped right in front of them. Is someone trying to kidnap us? Blair thought, and quickly pulled out her emergency knife. Charlotte, get behind me, Blair shouted, and then Charlotte did as she instructed. Where did you get that knife? Charlotte asks, and backs away. Emergencies like this, it doesn't matter, she says, and a mysterious figure boldly stepped forward. Are you stupid? Blair asks, and prepares to attack. Blair, calm down. It's me, Antonio, he says, and took off the hat and sunglasses. Oh, my bad, I apologize, Blair says, and puts the knife away. No, I'm the one who should be apologizing. I frightened you, Antonio says, and takes a step forward, looking down on Blair. Ahem, I'm still here, Charlotte says from the back and steps forward. Oh, right, so you're Blair's friend? Antonio asks and looks at her. Blair sighs in relief and was about to explode. Thank God he was too close to my face, too close. What am I thinking? I can't be falling for someone like him. Snap out of it, Blair thought to herself and shakes her head. Are you okay? Antonio asks and turned around to face her. Yes, I'm just tired. Yes. I need to sleep. I need to go. Blair answers and grabbed Charlotte's hand. Let's go, Blair says, and started walking. Antonio didn't like that at all and grabbed Blair by her wrist, taking a few steps forward. Why don't I give you two a ride? Antonio asks, and Blair was about to decline. Yes, we would love to, but unfortunately I need to run some errands, so Blair, you'll have to go alone, Charlotte says, and runs off, giving Blair a grin. Damn you, Charlotte, tomorrow Blair thought, and gritted her teeth. Well, Blair. Will you do me the honors of driving you home? Antonia asks, and mischievously opened the back car door. Fine, Blair says, and goes in. Scooch over, Antonio says, and Blair realizes that for the whole ride back she will have to sit next to him. Driver, bring me to her house, Antonio orders, and the driver started driving. So, you will have to stay at my house from tomorrow on. Antonio grins and puts his arm around her. We're not near any of We're not near any of our family members. You don't have to act so lovey-dovey, Blair says and removes his arm. What? Am I not allowed to hug my wife? Antonia says smugly. It's a contract one. I'm just a contract wife, Blair says and slides to the other side of the car. But we're not married yet. You can't contract a fiancé, Antonio says, and trapped her between him and the car door. What are you doing? Blair asks. He's so close. Help! Any closer and I'll melt, Blair thinks, but plays it cool. We need to practice for our wedding, Antonio says and comes even closer. I can feel his warm breath, Blair thinks, but still has her poker face on. Out of the corner of her eye, she sees the car pulling up to her house. A kiss? Fine, have it your way then, Blair says and grinned. Antonio didn't notice the car stopping and puts his hand on the car door. Blair smiles mischievously and opened the door, causing Antonio to fall on Blair, and their lips touch. See you, Blair says, and quickly gets out of the car. That girl, she'll drive me crazy one day, Antonio thinks to himself, and then he closes the door and sits back up. The driver couldn't believe what he just saw and tries not to laugh. Driver, to our mansion, Antonio instructs and watches Blair walking figure in the distance. I wonder what she's up to, Antonio thinks to himself and gave a slight smile. The driver rubbed his eyes and looked again. Oh, that was my imagination. Mr. Salvatore never smiles. Never. No. Mr. Salvatore smile? No, that's nothing real. The driver thinks to himself and then goes back to driving. Meanwhile, Blair looks behind her and to ensure that the car has left. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I just did that. I can't believe. Was I possessed? Am I out of my mind? Blair thinks to herself, and her face turned pink. I must be out of my mind. Yes, that's it. Yes. 100%. Blair thinks and sighed. Blair, you're back, Dolores exclaimed happily. I wasn't even out that late, Grandma, Blair says and smiles. Yes, but you didn't inform me that Charlotte would be sleeping over today, Dolores says and Blair sighs. Sorry. Once Blair arrives in her room, Charlotte comes up to her and asks, And how did it? Charlotte couldn't finish because Blair grabbed her by her neck and pinned her against the wall. I'm not usually this aggressive, but you overstepped a line. As a friend, Blair says and glares at Charlotte. Geez, okay. I'm sorry, I won't do it again. Charlotte says while catching her breath and tapping Blair's hand. You can unhand me now, Charlotte says, and Blair lets her fall to the ground. Jeez, how are you so strong? You're barely as tall as me, Charlotte says and stands up while still catching her breath. Blair scoffed and turned her back on Charlotte. Then she sat on the bed. I know I overreacted, but I won't forgive you, Blair says, and pouted. Aw, come on, please. Sorry. Charlotte asks, but Blair didn't budge. Besties promise I won't do it again? Charlotte asks, and stretched out her hand. Fine, I'll forgive you, but if you do that again. Yes, I know, dead meat. Charlotte intervened. I mean it, Blair says, and Charlotte shivers. Heard loud and clear, boss, Charlotte says, and hugs Blair. I'm sorry, she said again, and Blair smiles. Charlotte, I need your help, Blair says, and turned around. With what? A date? Charlotte asks teasingly. No, even worse. Tomorrow I need to move to his house, Blair says, and Charlotte gasps. OMG. She exclaimed excitedly. That's not something good, Blair says, and Charlotte nodded. I'll help you. You need to be perfect. Charlotte says, and quickly went to Blair's closet. You don't have any dresses. WTF. How does that... How? Charlotte said, frustrated. And I don't need any, Blair answers, and Charlotte sighed. Fine, we'll go shopping tomorrow, she said, and closed the closet. What? Why? Blair asks. And Charlotte looked at Blair seriously. We need to, obviously. You need to look pretty when you meet his parents, she said. But I don't. No excuses. Charlotte tells Blair, and Blair sat on the bed. Fine, only 3 things. 3 things, okay? Blair says, and Charlotte looked happier and sat on the mattress. Now, sleep. We have a big day tomorrow, Charlotte says, and covers herself with a blanket. Okay, Blair says, and lays down. With that, the first chapter is finished. I will be posting more, maybe tomorrow, maybe next week, maybe next month. I don't know when I have time. So, if you want more to this story, you can just comment down below, because I don't think I've, I barely just finished the second chapter. So, if you want more of the story, you can comment down below. If not, I'll be posting anyway, so, beats me. So, yeah. I hope you liked it, and, see you next time, I guess. I don't know if in a short or in a long video, but, talking for, like, half an hour straight is really exhausting now that I am... Jesus Christ, I need to drink some water. If there is some lags in the video or some stuttering or stuff, that will... I excuse myself, because I like to speak, as you know. As you know, wait, you don't know. As you hear... Let's say blah. Jesus Christ. I like to speak, but even this is a bit much for me. So I guess I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and for all the support. Bye, Marina. Oh wait, what? No. Cute Merriman out.